This show captures that and lets the viewers into a world unlike any other portrayed in media. I'm calling this a look into the life of a frazzled and imperfect woman. Let me know what you think by the end of this video. This is a one-of-a-kind show, with 12 episodes split into 2 seasons, 6 hours total. It is 100% possible to just sit down and binge it all. I would know, as I did do that. While some would call this a miniseries, I would call it an eye-opening journey. It is extremely rare to see any type of show or movie online that breaks the fourth wall just the way that Fleabag does. When Fleabag, the main character, is talking to the audience, she is not putting on a front. She is rude, abrasive, demeaning, unfiltered, and most importantly, real. She is not trying to be anyone but herself, which includes the fact that she's not perfect, despite being the main character. In Season 1, Fleabag uses the fourth wall break more as a coping method, called escapism, to avoid her reality. In Season 2, the audience begins to notice Fleabag's growth in the sense of confronting her problems and moving away from using the fourth wall as a bit of a crutch. Let's just say there is also a really hot priest, deemed by the internet, okay, not just me.
So let's try it. Go on. Go on.
Who is the first person to break that barrier between Fleabag and the audience for the first time. This only supports her growth as people begin to see her as who she is and not who she keeps trying to be. Let's start by analyzing this show's beginnings. Now let's take it all the way back to 2012. So this series began as a monologue play, which Phoebe Waller-Bridge performed at a Fringe festival in the UK in 2012. Quoted in an article about Fleabag, it is stated that Waller-Bridge was encouraged to perform a 10-minute monologue at a local Fringe festival by Deborah Frances Wright, a writer and comedian behind the podcast The Guilty Feminist. It was then, at a ripe 26 years old, that Waller-Bridge gave birth to Fleabag. It immediately was a huge hit with the British audiences, which I've heard is quite a feat for them, and soon after, a Kickstarter project was started to raise money for the show so they could officially film and produce it. In an interview with Waller-Bridge herself, the creator and the star of the show, she stated that the best way to write a show like this is to write the most truthful thing you can write until it kind of burns your heart. Episode 1, Season 1 premiered on September 16th, 2016, and was an immediate hit. The first few scenes of this episode began with Fleabag talking directly to the camera while having sex and rambling on about some crazy you-know-when scenario. It seems almost as if she is predicting what the men in these scenes will do while also reacting in real time. She then moves on to asking the audience a rhetorical question. Close your eyes if you do not want to hear some shocking language.
And you spend the rest of the day wondering, do I have a massive asshole?
Instead of coming off as gimmicky, Fleabag often comes off as more relatable due to saying what we all wish we could say in certain situations. An example of this is when Fleabag is on the bus alone and is having mixed signals with a not very, or at least conventionally attractive man. While he considers her eye contact flirting, it is obvious to the audience that she is very much not interested. Does this mean she's going to turn down his advances? No, because that would be very rude of her to do as a single woman in today's society. I hope you note that was said sarcastically. Okay. In most of the situations in this show, Fleabag is faced with the realization that there is not always a right or a wrong thing to do. This is what ultimately leads to the mistakes and misunderstandings that this show is specifically known for. A very trifling moment with another man happens just moments after this awkward encounter, this time at a loan office. In this scene, Fleabag is trying to receive a loan for her not very successful guinea pig cafe that was started with her recently deceased friend, but she is not good at marketing this request. To try and persuade this man to grant her a loan, Fleabag pulls up her shirt and flashes her bra at him. It is then connected back to a previous sexual harassment case that this businessman must have dealt with in the past that Fleabag heard about. Fleabag believed that if she gave this man what he might have wanted, but never confirmed or asked her specifically for, then she would get the grant. The man then responds with, "That won't get you far here anymore," and denies her grant. As an audience member watching this, you just feel uncomfortable for both parties. It's awkward, but That's what makes it so fascinating to watch. To end that scene, as Fleabag is walking away, the businessman calls her a slut. Now, name-calling is nothing new in an ordinary woman's world, but to watch it happen on screen is always just so frustrating, even after a weird encounter like this one. What does that man gain from putting down Fleabag, whether she was in the wrong or not? Immediately after this uncomfortable conversation, Fleabag appears at a feminist lecture with her sister Claire. It should be noted that she is one of the few people referred to by an actual name in the show. The reason behind their attendance is their father's way of dealing with their mother's death and poor relationship with their godmother, who immediately after their mom's death married the dad and became their pretty much evil stepmother. I know that was a lot to follow, so I'm sorry. While the two sisters are arguing about some petty shirt that Fleabag borrowed, Claire tries to seemingly justify her life by stating, "I have 2 degrees, a husband, and a Burberry coat." It's honestly sad to see that that's what her life has ultimately come down to in one sentence. If that marks her whole life's success, then what's she truly living for? Anywho. Ironically, the name of the feminist lecture is Opening Women's Mouths Since 1998, Women Speaks Titles. It is a truly fascinating name that does a good job of representing how women's rights are viewed in society today. Once this lecture begins, the first question that the older woman leading the conversations asks is, "Please raise your hand if you would trade 5 years of your life for the so-called perfect body." Immediately, Claire and Fleabag raise their hands as seemingly no one else does. Now, I have no doubts in my mind that were women watching that show at home and immediately did the same thing. This is the issue with how women are viewed in society. There should not be such a thing as a perfect body. Fleabag even says to the camera, "We're bad feminists." Does not having confidence in yourself make you a bad feminist? Alas, this is nothing new when it comes to this topic. It's mainly just shocking that the creators of this show would just put it so bluntly. Cue to some scenes after that, including Fleabag trying to help a drunk woman who believes that Fleabag is a man, and some flashbacks of her dead best friend later. Fleabag is now at the doorstep of her father's house very late at night. As he opens the door, he stands surprised as to why she came to him. Fleabag then begins to monologue at him after he asks her if she needs anything.
Oh, fuck it. I have a horrible feeling that I'm a greedy, perverted, selfish, apathetic, cynical, depraved, morally bankrupt woman who can't even call herself a feminist.
Well, you get all that from your mother.
Though this monologue comes off as quite uncomfortable and blunt, it is what truly represents Fleabag. She is not coming to her father for comfort, but instead coming to him to release all that she has felt throughout the day. Does this make for clear communication within their relationship? No. But it does set the tone for the rest of the show and for how uniquely important each of the monologues is for the character development. Although we are not diving into the other episodes and Season 2 today, I do want to touch on one monologue in Season 2 that I find is one of the most influential and important monologues I've ever seen portrayed in TV and film. It is most commonly referred to as the menopause monologue. I will include it here so I don't butcher it.
And I realised, I've been longing to say this out loud, so women are born with pain built in. It's our physical destiny. Period pains, sore boobs, childbirth, you know. We carry it within ourselves throughout our lives. Men don't. They have to seek it out. They invent all these gods and demons and things so they can feel guilty about things, which is something we do very well on our own. And then they create wars so they can feel things and touch each other. And when there aren't any wars, they can play rugby. And we have it all going on in here, inside. We have pain on a cycle for years and years and years. And then, just when you feel you are making peace with it all, what happens? The menopause comes. The fucking menopause comes. And it is the most wonderful fucking thing in the world. And yes, your entire pelvic floor crumbles and you get fucking hot and no one cares. But then you're free. No longer a slave, no longer a machine with parts. You're just a person in business.
I was told it was horrendous.
It is horrendous, but then it's magnificent. Something to look forward to.
For the show to not romanticize or glorify these topics, it is truly creating its own genre of media. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.